This morning, we've been taking time to honor the life of the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. In the 7 a.m. hour, we spoke to Bishop James Dixon, a dear friend of the Congresswoman, who spoke about her life and legacy.
And then at 8, we took a look back at some of our old footage in the archives of Jackson Lee during her early years in politics. And now we're talking a little bit about an intersection between Sheila Jackson Lee and now the Democratic nominee candidate, Vice President Kamala Harris. Back in Studio A, joining us this hour is KPRC2 reporter Mariah Ballard.
Hey, y'all. Good morning again. The Congresswoman and the Vice President have multiple things in common, including their work in politics and their faithfulness to their sisters in the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Joining me now is Professor Serbino Sandifer Walker, professor at Texas Southern University and Assistant Dean of Communications, and she's an AKA, along with Michaela Wallace of the TSU debate team. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good
yes.
morning.
Now, overall, I know this has been a very eventful week for you all over at the sorority. Dr. Sandifer Walker, I'll start with you. Talk to us a little bit about the Congresswoman, about her life and her legacy as you know it.
Oh, my goodness. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee was the quintessential politician. She was a force. She liked to call herself the champion of the people, and she was indeed that. First of all, she represented the 18th Congressional District, where Texas Southern University is located. And as you know, several powerhouses have represented that district, starting with the great Barbara Jordan, of course. And she was such an eloquent speaker and an eloquent individual. And she was so powerful and persuasive and everything that she did. But she was mostly dedicated to the constituents of the 18th Congressional District. And she worked tirelessly to ensure that their needs, their concerns were addressed. She had significant legislation that shaped that district, that shaped the district that we're in. And she was very passionate about causes related to Texas Southern University, causes related to the community, from the economy to health care, the Affordable Care Act. Yes, she was very, very, very involved in so many different ways in the community to ensure that this community survived and thrived, as well as Texas Southern University. She was dedicated to this institution, to helping us in so many ways. She was one of the main reasons that Texas Southern University received a $50 million grant and millions of dollars over the 29 years that she was a congresswoman in the 18th Congressional District. She will be so missed, but her impact, her legacy is so profound. Her policies, her legislation was so impactful. She was such a compassionate individual. I could go on and on about what she brought to this community, what she brought to the constituents, what she brought to HBCUs. She helped people to understand the significance of HBCUs. Texas Southern University is a great American story of courage. She helped people to understand the significance of HBCUs and why they mattered. And she was able to bring people together. That's the beautiful thing about Sheila Jackson Lee. She was a force, forward-thinking, persistent, unwavering, and everything that she did till the very end. And she will be greatly missed. When I heard the news, it was just, it was unbelievable. It was just absolutely unbelievable that this person who dedicated her entire professional life, most of her professional life, to making a difference for others had passed. But her legacy lives on. It lives on greatly.
Yes, ma'am. Now, Michaela, I'll ask you, if you could at all, if you have any recollection of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, I know I always see her out there at Texas Southern University, kind of share with us her impact maybe on the younger generation that people don't get to know about.
Right, for sure. I really think that Congresswoman Jackson Lee, she really saw the importance of the young generation. She was very involved with us. She saw how important we were for the future of this country, but also the future of the world in general. I definitely remember the first time that I ever met her was on campus in the Student Center. She was there for a voter registration event, and she had come in person, and she was standing in the Student Center amongst the students during lunchtime, like super busy hours. There was a whole bunch of students in there, and she was going up to almost every single student that she saw and asking them, are you registered to vote? Are you registered to vote? Are you registered to vote? Yeah. And I remember I had told her that I wasn't registered to vote. I was having problems with it, and she was just so concerned with it. And it really meant something very important to me as a young person to see somebody who is in such a position in our federal government to be so involved in the young people and feel so strongly about making sure that we're exercising our civic rights and having the ability to do the things that we're allowed to do as American citizens, And so it was very important to me, the way that she was so involved with the young community, especially college students, because she was always on the campus of Texas Southern University. And if she was on campus, one thing she was going to do was make sure that she was talking to students, seeing that she saw us and that we saw her, and making a connection between us. And I just think that she was so impactful in her consideration and her care that she had for young people.
Wow. Now, in the same weekend of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee's death, President Joe Biden, as you both know, endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, who is also an AKA and a black woman. Michaela, I'll ask you first. What does this mean to you to see a black woman and a fellow sister stepping up to the plate as far as politics when the president ultimately stepped down from re-election?
As a young person, I think that Kamala Harris becoming a candidate for the nomination as the Democratic nominee for president is super inspirational, just because it kind of shows that black women can take these positions, right? We know with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, she was in the federal government working as a congresswoman, but it's we don't really see ourselves as black women or even women in general reflected in the highest position of leadership in this country, the way that Kamala Harris's candidacy and her nomination makes her kind of be in that position, So it's kind of if she can do it, that means that any black woman who at any point wants to be president, I could become president if I really wanted to, any black woman could become president. And that's so inspirational. And it's also inspirational to the younger generation because it kind of shows that all of the work that we've been building upon from generations before us in terms of progressing and making sure that everybody is equally represented and creating a more equitable and equal representation of all of the different identities within this country, of all the racial identities and all of the gender identities and so on and so forth, is kind of coming to fruition now. Young people are seeing all of this work that we've been building upon, all of these things we've been protesting for and advocating for is coming to a head now because we have Kamala Harris running as a presidential candidate or for president in 2024, And it's if you went back 50 years and told somebody oh yeah, 50 years from now, there's going to be a black woman running to be president of the United States of America, they would probably look at you crazy. But it's that's not something that is so outlandish nowadays because there's been so much work that's been put forth and so much work that's been built upon by the younger generations that it's our voice is being heard and we're kind of seeing the things that we've been working for reflected in the federal government and the world around us. So that's just very important in that way.
Wow. And really quickly before we go, Dr. Walker, tell us a little bit about your feelings with the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris.
Well, it is absolutely groundbreaking. I can echo the same sentiments that our debater has actually said as well, too. Kamala Harris has already left an indelible mark in politics, being the first African-American VP. That was very, very, very important. But to move in the position to be officially at some point, probably this week, to be nominated to be the candidate for president is incredible. It says a lot about what black women are capable of doing, and more specifically, what she's capable of doing. She was a brilliant prosecutor. She was a brilliant senator. She was a brilliant attorney for the state of California. And she has been a brilliant vice president for these United States. And so we're very excited to see what will happen, what the future will actually bring. I think she will be able to unify people. She'll be able to bring people together. I think she'll be able to really open up the door for others to see that it's possible to be able to achieve one of the highest, positions in this country. And I think that it is impactful, and I think that it is important. I think both Sheila Jackson Lee and Kamala Harris, have left indelible marks on the U.S. political landscape. And I think that being in this role right now is very, very impactful. Very impactful.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Sandifer Walker, Michaela. Thank you guys so much. We will see what happens, guys.
Mariah, thank you.